Rowdy.com presents The Bump and Run.
Welcome to today's Rowdy.com Big Three talking NASCAR with Buck Beaver. I'm Bassmaster Jerome Buzz Cutler. Has today's three big burning questions.
Let's put a bow on New Hampshire and deal with some lingering issues from this weekend, such as the bump and run. First, Kurt Busch bumped and then ran
I can't believe you did that
against Jimmy Johnson, and then Jimmy Johnson rebumped and re-ran. Is that all good? Did they go over the line? Any issues there?
It was good with Jimmy Johnson.
Not at all.
Jimmy seemed a little
miffed. He was miffed.
Oh, come on. I remember Jimmy doing it to Denny Hamlin in Martinsville not too long ago.
I know. Look, if you're going to do it, that's the way to do it, right? You move the guy out of the way. When Jimmy got moved, he only lost the one spot, right? He didn't lose a bunch of spots, and he was able to get his car back under control, didn't hit the wall, didn't wreck, anything like that. And so, if he's fast enough, he gets to catch Kurt again.
Because Kurt had the bump part down. He just didn't have the run part.
I mean, this is the thing about the bump and run that I find interesting here is that it's one thing if you are a faster car and you're trying to get by a guy and he cuts you off and he blocks you and he chops you off and then you end up moving him out of the way. No one seems to get too upset by that. But when you're the slower car and you bump a guy out of the way because you're able to get to his bumper there early in a run, but the other car's faster, well, then he's going to get back to you if he is indeed faster, and he's going to bump you. So I think it's like, Kurt gave it a shot. Jimmy bumped him back and did the same thing to Kurt that Kurt did to Jimmy, so I think it's all good.
I mean, I don't know why Jimmy freaked out so much. He said, though, hey, once he did it to me, I knew I was going to go back.
I didn't see Jimmy freak out. Where did Jimmy freak out?
He seemed a little miffed.
He was a little upset. He didn't like it. I love it.
But he did what he needed to do, which is he paid Kurt back in kind and won the race.
That's good hard racing.
It is good hard racing.
Speaking of good hard racing, Kasey Kahne had a pretty strong car early on. Looked like he was going to win the race with no sweat, and then he just blew up.
Well, I don't know about the no sweat part, but I do know this. I am very, very impressed by what Kasey Kahne is doing right now. He's in a Ford, and we know those cars have been struggling. Granted, they got the new engine, but Kasey Kahne was looking at his third straight top five, fighting his way back into chase contention, even though he knows he's leaving his team, he knows he's leaving Ford and going on to Hendrick Motorsports sometime in the near future. So the fact that those guys are stuck together, that they're fast, that Kasey's run well, I think is pretty impressive. It says a lot about the man's character. I'm sorry that he had to pay the price there with a blown engine, because I think it would have been very interesting to see him make a charge into the chase, and I still think it could happen.
Well, I think it's doubtful he'll make it to the chase because he's had some issues, but he has had some fast cars, and it does show that team, ironically, is headed up, and I think, next year he doesn't know where he's going to go. If I'm Rick Hendrick, I maybe do call Robbie Loomis up and go, you know what, let him stay for another year.
All right, issue number 3. While you were gone last week, Bass, one of the issues we discussed is, does the have at it boys policy have the potential to backfire? And both Buck and I said no. Not sure that the drivers agree with us. First, after Pocono, Tony Stewart says we're driving like a bunch of idiots. And at the pre-race press conferences at New Hampshire, Jeff Burton had this to say, sort of echoing Tony's sentiments.
Well, I thought last week was horrendous. I thought the respect shown last week from driver to driver was completely unacceptable. And, if our sport's going to become that, then we need to change it from racing to demolition cars, because that wasn't racing last week. I'll race as hard as anybody wants to race. It takes skill to race and not wreck somebody. It takes zero skill to run over top of anybody. It takes no ability whatsoever to do that. On a restart on a road course, it takes no ability to wreck somebody. And, what we saw last week wasn't about ability. It was about a lack of willingness to do the right thing.
You know what I find interesting about some of this stuff? When you hear about the old days, it's like you hear two things. One is, we were all rough and tumble in the old days. We didn't get out and whine and cry. We just settled it like men, right? Then the other thing you hear is, well, we respected each other in the old days. We raced each other clean, and we were all in it together, and people don't care about each other anymore. Well, which one is it? Was it all rough and tumble in the old days, or was it we were all buddies in the old? They can't seem to make up their mind. Yes, they're getting a little crazy at the end of the races. Good. I'm glad. I want to see some chaos.
Far be it from me to argue with Jeff Burton. I mean, he's raced a car for a living. I haven't. But let me put my fan hat on. It's freaking awesome. It's really good, and I love that they're rough out there. I love they're shoving each other around. I love that Tony Stewart feels like he needs to be more aggressive. I love that Jeff Gordon's all in Juan Montoya's grill, and Juan Montoya's in Jeff Gordon's grill. I don't know who's right or wrong, but I love it. So, sorry. Sorry, Jeff Burton, it's a show, and the show right now is pretty darn good.
And the show must go on, except for this show, which must go off.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.